Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hobby Lodge. It is time for another Hit Squads update, and this time I'm going to be taking you to 77 in the collection. So we're getting into some good, decent numbers now, and there's still a good chunk of the way to go. But yeah, 77 out of 122. So let's update you on the ones I've got recently. So the first up is probably one of my favorite games in the Hit Squad collection, and in fact on the Commodore 64, and it is Midnight Resistance. This is a game that I played an awful lot as a kid. This was my Contra. So for most people that owned, the NES and other systems, and they would have loved playing Contra all the time, I didn't really know about Contra, but I did have Midnight Resistance, and I played this just all the time. In fact, I owned it on both tape and disc. I don't know if it ever came out on cartridge. I've got a sneaky suspicion I might have owned it on cartridge, but certainly on disc I owned it through the Night Moves pack. But yeah, really glad to have this on the Hit Squads. It is a Contra type game. It is a run and gun, shooting multiple directions, take out enemies and bosses, using the tokens they drop that look like little keys to buy upgrades as you go into the shop at the end of every level. And yeah, just really can't complain. Great music, great movement, plays fantastically well. Sadly, in the footage I'm going to be showing you, I've realised that my years of not playing this game have meant that my skills have dropped dramatically, because I used to have to get very far. I'm not sure if I ever completed it as a child, but I remember getting quite far in it. So yeah, this is a game that I'm going to have to brush my skills up again and get back to winning ways, because yeah, this is a game I absolutely love. I will say, if I was going to play it, I'd play it on disc, because there is a multi-load obviously to this, so during each level you've got a load to take. But I will say again, the load time between each levels is very short. It may be 20-30 seconds of tape time to go between the levels, which I think is reasonable for these types of games. But yes, it is number 43 in the arcade collection, and it is Midnight Resistance, and it has great artwork. That is a cool looking cover. So yeah, here we go. Right, from one solid action game to one that isn't. So this one is Sylvester Stallone in Cobra, a movie that I'm sure many of you of an age would have seen, but this is number 2 in the movie collection, and this is not Midnight Resistance or Contra in any way, shape or form. And it is a run and gun on the Commodore 64, so it is a bit of platforming and running through, but I have to say, for me, there's way better games in this style on the Commodore 64. It's great to have it in the collection, and it plays fine, but actually, no, I'm not going to say it plays fine. The enemies are weird, and the shooting's strange, and it just doesn't work for me as a game. But it looks okay, I'll give it that. But yeah, I'm showing you some footage of it, but yeah, not for me. I wonder if anyone else out there was a fan of one, the movie, and two, the game. The movie was quite cool, I think, for an 80s action movie, but the game that accompanied it, unfortunately, missed the mark. Right, next up we have got a shooter. Yeah, so it's a side-scrolling shooter, very akin to the sort of games like R-Type, and it is Nemesis. There we go. So Nemesis, which is number 16 in the arcade collection, and this does play great. This is a fantastic game. This is your classic R-Type-esque type game where you're scrolling left to right, and you're taking out waves of enemies and then bosses in all different environments. Great music, power-up system in there. I love it when these games have a power-up system. This one works a little bit different to others in that you're accumulating your power-up and then choosing which of the power-ups you want. So, the first thing you can upgrade is your speed, and then you can do missiles and then lasers and so on and so forth. So the more you let it build up, the more sort of higher tier upgrades you can select. But you probably want to start off with getting a bit of speed and maybe adding the missile to your firing pattern and stuff like that. But yeah, really, really nice, really solid little shooter. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Plays fantastically well, great music, the graphics are good as well. And yeah, no complaints. So yeah, really happy to add that one, number 16 to the arcade collection. Okay, next up. This one could have worked. It just suffers from speed. And that is in the sports selection, we have Match Day 2. So there we go. Now, football on the Commodore 64 does always struggle. There are some good ones out there, but Match Day 2, it could be fine. It just really lacks speed. So when you're playing the game, you know, you've got your shooting, your heading, you've got all of the elements that make sort of the game work. It just is extremely slow paced when you're playing, and I think, you know, maybe if there was a extra megahertz in there or something, or whatever it was in the processing power of the probably over egging megahertz, frankly. But if there was maybe a few more K available, we could have got a bit more speed out of the game. But yeah. It fails because of that. Otherwise, everything's there. You know, there's crowd noise. The graphics are good. It all looks fine for a Commodore 64 based football game. It's just the speed that lets it down. But yeah, Match Day. I haven't managed to score a goal, but I think if you did, it was probably luck anyway. Right, and then the last up for today. As I said, I always try and do a big hitter on these updates, so that we get one every time I do one. And this week's update, this one's big hitter, as it were, sorry, is Hudson Hawk on the movie collection. So this is number 25 in the movies, and it is one of the more rarer one to find. It is, it comes out later in the series, and it is just very difficult to find copies of, but like buses, sometimes two appear at once, and if you're lucky you can get in there and pick it up, but it is a pricier game to get hold of. Luckily it's one that isn't too bad. You know, the actual game plays great. It's a little puzzle platformer. I don't know why Hudson Hawk uses a baseball as his main weapon. I can't remember if baseball was that important in the movies. Maybe he uses, I don't know, maybe I've seen it once, I can't remember. But you are essentially trying to follow story-ish to Hudson Hawk. You're a thief, and you're trying to break into somewhere to get to the end. But as you're doing so, you're trying to avoid guards and dogs and other creatures that are trying to stop you. You're trying to move blocks so that you can climb up into certain areas and traverse buildings and all this sort of stuff. The security cameras are lethal. Security cameras fire lasers, of course. So the moment you step near one of them, you're likely to get just terminated immediately. But yeah, as a game, again, good music in the game. The graphics look fine. The action is fine. And yeah, it's just it's nice to have these more rarer titles actually be decent playable games. So yeah, it's a nice little platformer for the system. Hudson Hawk, number 25 in the movies collection. And there we go. That is the 5 for this week. So this takes us up to 77. And we've still got, you know, runway to go. So there's still plenty for me to show you. And I'm still picking them up as and when I can to get to that magic 122. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, give us a like, hit the subscribe button, all those things. Give us some comments down below if any of these games are games that you enjoyed. I'm off to go and play some more Midnight Resistance. And yeah, I'll speak to you all soon, okay? Bye-bye.